video, we can take a look at this toe on a toe-up sock. And you can also use it as a tip on a mitten to go from the tip down. This is a sock. This is my Arab American socks with the easy colorwork patterns. You can see there's a few rows of colorwork and some stripes in between, and it's less complicated than the other option that's in the pattern. So the toe starts here at the tip, and you use Judy's Magic Cast On or Turkish Cast On or Figure 8 Cast On. That gives you stitches on both sides, so you start knitting in the round right away. And after you do that, you increase every round in 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see it gets wider and wider. If you're a real beginning knitter and you're working on a pattern like this, you might decide to do solid color while you are doing the increases. So you don't have to deal with the increases and the color work at the same time. You'll still have a beautiful pattern on your socks. You just will have a solid color toe. That's an option for beginners. I want to show you how you do these increases, and actually it will be hanging on your needle this way. Your needles will be in the knitting here, and the part you've done will be below it. So here I have it set up on 2 circular needles, and I've increased a few times. I'm up to 13 stitches. On this sock, in this pattern, you go up to 15 stitches on each side before you start the color work. So this is about what it would look like before you start the color work. So you can see the cast on is right here. Start knitting in the round right away, and you have one side of the sock on the top needle and one on the bottom, and it would match the top of the foot and the bottom of the foot. I pulled my tail here to the outside because I can use that now to show me which is the end of the round. In this case, both sides are the same. The top and bottom of the foot in this sock has the same patterning. Sometimes it's different, and that can help you see. But I just pulled that out so that I can see when I'm at the beginning of the round. I can also tell by counting when I increase on both sides at the same rate. So if I have 15 stitches here and 13 here, I know that I'm on the second half of the round. But this is just a helper for me. So that's what it looks like on 2 circular needles as you're just getting started. You can also start on double pointed needles, and I still like to divide the stitches into 2 halves. In this case, I've got half, or the 13, on one needle, which would be, say, the top of the foot, and then the bottom of the foot I divide into 2 sections, 6 and 7 stitches for the 13, so that I can work in the round. But I still like to keep my 2 halves separate. And now I can tell which is the beginning and end of the round, because I know I always start the round on the single needle, for example, and then I do the 2 needles separate. So when I'm dealing with my end, to get it out of the way, I just bury it, tuck it inside the toe. So that's what it looks like when it's on 2 circulars or double pointed needles. And you can see here you're knitting straight in the middle, and we're increasing on either side of the top of the foot and again on the bottom of the foot. So let me show you how I do those increases. In the patterns that I have, I always write make 1, and I want to show you 2 options for doing that. So this is just flat knitting, but it would represent, say, the top of the foot. And I put markers in here because what I've done on this little swatch is knit 2 and then increasing. And then I've knit to the last 2 stitches and then increasing. So you can see the side stitches are tilting out, and then where those new rows are being added, new columns of stitches are being added. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I don't bother with make 1 right and make 1 left on the toe of a foot. If you already know that, you can. You can do, at the right edge, you can do a make 1 right, and the left edge make 1 left, but I don't bother. I just do a regular, same old make 1 every time. I put the left needle into the stitch like that, from front to back. Well, it's actually into the bar between the stitches, and I'm going to make it into a stitch. And then I knit it through the back loop, and that becomes a new stitch. and I go across to the next spot, and I do it the same way. Look here, I mean, it's tiny stitches on an actual sock. It's probably going to be inside your shoe, okay? If you wear it as a slipper sock, you'll see it. So if it bugs you and you know how to do right and left, or you want to look it up, you can. Again, I don't bother. So I'm going to get to the end of this section. All right, and now I'm ready for my next increase. And here I want to show you a second option for doing the increase, because sometimes on these sock toes your stitches are so tiny, you're juggling those needles, double points, or 2 circulars, or a magic loop with just a few stitches, and it's hard to get in there. It can get tight, and if you can't get in there and pick that up to do the knit through the back loop for make one, you can do this as a substitute. Just do a backward loop cast on of 1 stitch where it calls for the make one, and that'll come out exactly the same. It's 1 row off actually, but it's the same thing in that it's taking that bar that would have been just a bar between the stitches and making it into a twisted loop. So but both of those ways work fine. I actually did this sock with the make one. So both of those are equivalent. You can substitute them for make one if you want to. I usually do the lifted bar if I can, but sometimes on a certain pattern the knitting is too tight, the needles are too small, or I just can't manage it, and then I do the backward loop instead. So long as you're consistent through your project, it's all good. So that is the toe shaping for this basic kind of toe-up sock that I used in the Arab American sock pattern. It's the same in the advanced pattern, except there's more complicated color patterning going on at the same time as you're increasing.